Hey, Houseguests. I'm Andrea Chu.
And I'm David Belleville.
And welcome back to episode 3 of our Big Brother recap show. Last week was rather uneventful. We weren't here last week, which kind of worked out well because all it was the zombie competition between Jared and Cameron. So we'll go over that.
Sure.
Quickly. And then we'll get into the juicy stuff that happened this week because it was really good.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks have been entertaining, but you're right. In terms of action, there wasn't a lot of it last week with the zombie battle back between Jared and Cameron. However, Cameron is back in the house after being evicted. He is one of the most relentless competitors I've seen. He doesn't give up, and time again he claws his way back, and here we are. He's back in the house.
Yeah, so basically there were only 2 episodes last week. They did 2 competitions. One of them was for Cameron to win the power of choice, and he chose, when it came down to it, to play for a chance to get back into the house. He had to do that weird ball game. He won it very easily, and he's back, and Jared just said goodbye for good.
For good this time. They're good competitors too, so it was good good television to watch. And at the end of the day, Cameron wanted to control his own destiny, and it worked out for him.
Yeah, and he had confidence in his ability to win or to be good at the games, which he is. He carried that confidence right into the next HOH competition, which he won.
Of course.
Of course.
Is at this point a winning machine.
Now, it seems like Cameron, for a while, was public enemy number 1 in the house, and it doesn't seem that way anymore, but I can't tell if it's just because he keeps winning and people are like, I guess I'd rather work with him than have him gunning for me.
That's a good point. Another theory might be that he's created enough chaos among the other house guests that he's able to just kind of stand back and watch his work unfold. And to your point about him winning, there has been few opportunities for them to get him out. And when they do have those opportunities, he finds a way to claw back in. And so really, he's just been untouchable. And this house doesn't know what to do with their Cameron problem.
Yeah, it's kind of really impressive.
Yeah, it has been.
And he was a bit of a lone wolf, but now we saw he joined forces with Matt and Jag, Matt and Jag, the 2 of them are the Minutemen, but the 3 of them are the Fugitives. They do this, little thing.
It's fun.
Which I like. At the same time, Corey's making a lot of deals. It's concerning me a bit. It's like Corey woke up one day and decided, I'm going to start playing this game. And he just was like making alliances left and right.
It started when he realized he was on the outside looking in of the Jared, Izzy, Felicia, and Sari alliance that feels so long ago at this point.
Right.
And again, you're right. It's like he just woke up one day and decided he's going to put his foot down, and this is Corey's house. And for better or for worse, it has gotten him to where he is today, where he's in people's crosshairs, but he has yet to be really a target of anyone's ire. You know, whether or not Corey's power that he has garnered for himself is going to pay out remains to be seen. And then going back to the Fugitives between Matt, Jack, and Cameron, you're right. Cameron didn't really have anyone in his circle, but that's what the power of winning will get you.
Mm-hmm.
It attracts people to you, whether they want to or not. And he's found himself now with, at least for now, 2 alliance members that are really strong.
Yes. However, Matt and Jag are also aligned with Corey in America. And Matt is still very close with Sari. So at some point, they're going to have to choose. They're still in a position where they're floating in the middle. They haven't had to make a distinct choice yet, but they're going to have to choose soon because they're going to have to target someone. Also, something that I loved watching was Corey was in the backyard with a big group of them, and he was sitting on the couch talking to Felicia and Mimi. And Matt's over in the corner playing pool or something. But he notices that the conversation between Corey and Felicia went from casual to deal talking because Corey started covering his mouth with his hands. And Matt is someone who's really good at reading body language. So he was like, I can tell, even if I can't hear them, that they're making a deal right now. And he was correct.
And he went and sat down, plopped himself right in the middle of that conversation, if I remember correctly, with the overall point being, if you're going to talk game, like, you're going to talk game with me in the middle of it. And I'm pretty sure that that conversation went hush hush after he rolled in. But yeah, Corey and America are also two players who are trying to find numbers on their side. Matt and Jag are doing the same thing. Cameron's trying to figure out where he fits into all of it. We saw Felicia and Mimi create an alliance. There have been alliances after alliances after alliances in this house.
Can't keep track.
And really, these house guests are just going whichever way the wind blows.
Mhm.
And what appears to me as the only solid alliance at this point in the game are the Minutemen between Matt and Jag. And they've also positioned themselves very well where they haven't really. Jag has been in jeopardy a few times,
Mhm.
but at this point in the game, neither of them seem to be anybody's target, and rather two people that others want to work with. So lots of alliances. Which one will make it to the end is anybody's guess.
It's seeming like Corey is going to be the next big target coming up. I know Blue wants to get rid of him because she feels threatened with his closeness to Matt and Jag because those are her two people. And I also think people are realizing that he is pulling a lot of strings in the house. So they're like, Corey is a huge competitor, even though he hasn't won that many things.
Yeah, that's a good point. Blue is a player that really fascinates me, honestly. She's starting to gain this reputation, in my opinion, as like this special agent spy who always seems to like pull information out of people and knows so much about every aspect of this house without being in too much danger week to week. A lot of people seem to trust her and want to work with her and have her on their side, and she could have very easily been targeted right after Jared left because of
Mhm.
her proximity and closeness with Jared. And I love the way that she's been playing this
Yeah.
game.
We'll see if Matt and Jag stay loyal to Blue or Corey, because I think it'll come down to it. They'll have to make a choice.
Or Jared, or excuse me, Cameron, for that matter.
That's true. And it was also funny. Corey apparently, for some reason, feels very comfortable with Cameron because as soon as Cameron won HOH, Corey marched into his little room, lounged out on the couch, and was like, yeah, so like, what are we doing this week? So comfortable as if he knew he wasn't in danger, even though Cameron was like, I don't know why he's so comfortable because I could very easily nominate him.
There's a difference between cockiness and confidence, and Corey has been towing that line very closely,
Mhm.
and it's either going to get him in trouble or put him in a great position. But yeah, you're right. He did walk into Cameron's HOH room as if he was his right-hand man, which by no means should have been the case in his head.
hmm Another interesting conversation with Cameron was Felicia had a feeling she would be nominated, which she was correct. Her and Cameron have never gotten along. But in an effort to save herself, she threw out Cerie's name, her number one ally. I know their relationship has been a little bit rocky, I think, given the Jared of it all. But she so quickly was like, Cerie's the bigger threat than me.
Yeah, on last night's episode, which was Thursday night's episode, she was described as playing big and bold, and really two great adjectives to describe her gameplay. However, I think that one can argue it's been a little sloppy at times as well, and she's just got to be careful of whose names are coming out of her mouth and when. Um, that relationship between her and Cerie has completely crumbled. So at this point, I feel like she's just saying whatever she needs to say on a day-to-day basis to survive.
hmm And ultimately, that didn't matter what she said because Felicia and Mimi got nominated by Cameron, with Felicia being the main target. Or so we thought.
This house loves to flip-flop, and that's exactly what we saw this week.
I have to say, Felicia made a comment that really resonated with me as a viewer. She said, Cameron, your real problem is you don't know how to connect with people because Felicia's so good with people. And my hot take is that Cameron is a bit like the character Joe Goldberg from the show You.
Ooh.
And I'm not saying that he's
wow.
murdering people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that he's really good at observing people. And he almost is acting like he thinks he should act as a person to form connections with people, but these connections aren't genuine.
Mm-mm.
He's almost like cosplaying as a human to form connections with people, but I don't really think he's actually getting close to people. It's all for the purpose of manipulation, which that is the name of the game, but it does seem that people can at some points put the game aside and just enjoy each other's company, and I haven't really seen him be able to do that.
No, that's I have to kind of digest what you just said. Joe Goldberg in the HOH house or the Big Brother house. That's quite the crossover. I totally can respect that take though, especially with the hair and the beard. Like there are some similarities there. He, Cameron's social game has probably been his biggest weakness, but it's been completely canceled out by his competition game.
Hmm.
Any connection he makes though is based off of the other players wanting to stay in this game. And because he keeps on gaining all of this power every other week, his his connections aren't genuine. You're right. They're all based on a need for other people to just survive his power, his reign.
Yeah.
So I respect the Joe Goldberg take.
Yeah. I'm not saying, I mean, he seems to be surviving okay in the house, but I think that's why it's hard for me to watch him. I'm like, it feels like he's just pretending all the time.
Something's paying off for him.
Yeah.
And kudos to him for staying around as long as he has been. You had another interesting observation
Hmm.
as time has gone on.
Yes. And that's that Matt always has a little flosser in his mouth. The past 2 episodes, he hasn't had it the whole time, or I haven't noticed the whole time. But what's up with that?
He is to floss picks as Taylor was to Lay's potato chips.
Yes.
So
What's
maybe
the
there's like a
deal?
future dental sponsorship in his future.
Is anyone else noticing that, or am I the only one?
It's never really clicked to me. Now that I think about it, you're right. And he's always chewing, and he's just chewing on it.
He's not flossing.
But who knows? Maybe his teeth are impeccable, and he just always needs one on standby to get something out of his
Just
teeth.
in case.
Just in case. But
I
you're
don't know who
right.
knows.
That's kind of his thing.
Yeah. I wonder if anyone else online is just, it means nothing. It's just, I've noticed it. And every time he's on screen, I can't help but notice.
When you're in a house 24 hours a day being recorded in front of the nation, you're bound to pick up on these types of things.
Yeah. And that led us to the Exorcist themed veto competition, which would be terrifying for me personally if I were to go in there, but it was very funny to watch.
It was. Is that the scariest competition they've ever done? It had to be up there.
It was scary. The other
It
one,
was scary.
where they were running in that backyard with the chainsaws and stuff, that was pretty scary too.
That was. They have at least done well with the scary verse in terms of applying the theme to the competitions. They're walking around this dark or very dimly lit house with nothing but a little forehead lamp, and they've got to go and find specific items. And it was great television. You're right.
It was really funny. It reminded me of like an escape room or something.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it kind of was, but Felicia was explaining how because of her military training, she's actually trained at night vision and she can see really well in the dark. It didn't really seem that way because she walked into the same room twice and saw the same word, hair, written on the wall. And rather than being like, oh, maybe I'm already been in this room, she was like, I need to look for more hair. I was like, no. And then she walked right out the door. She just
Got it.
ended it. She just walked right back into the hallway to the start.
Yeah, it wasn't her greatest showing.
No.
What are you
No.
gonna
I don't
do?
know if I would have thought you need to crawl through the fireplace. Maybe I would just from watching the show.
That's where I feel like I would have gotten stuck the longest. Is I don't know, my head wouldn't have gone there. I would have gotten so much anxiety during that competition. Like these comps have to be so much harder than it looks,
Mhm.
and that was one that looked really hard.
It looked hard.
It did.
It
So
was several rooms.
I
One
won't-
of them was like really small with bones, and everyone said it smelled bad. And then there's that sewer room that was wet. That would be scary, especially
Yeah.
if it's dark.
and you don't know what you're touching.
Hmm.
Get out of here.
You don't
No,
even know
thank
what you're
you.
looking for.
No, thank you.
Yeah, Mimi was so focused. I thought she had this one in the bag because she was calm. Every time the little demon girls popped up, she was just like, shut up. And she kept going. She didn't even flinch. Everyone else was screaming, like like normal, like a
Uh,
normal
and
reaction.
this competition was crucial to her game.
hmm Um, Cameron also was weirdly calm.
It's kind of his MO.
Yeah, maybe because he's able to turn off that human emotion. He just knows what he has to do. But of course, he was calm, and he pulled out the win
He did.
again.
And I think it was something like 20 or so seconds separated him and Mimi, the reigning HOH and a member of the block. It came down to mere seconds, and
Mm.
had Mimi won that competition, her game would have lived to see another week. Instead, Cameron pulls out another victory, just padding that resume, and gained all the power of last week, and eventually that led us to eviction night.
Yeah. Well, Tuesday's episode left on a bit of a cliffhanger because we didn't know if he was going to use the power veto or not. Um, it's easy to keep the noms the same, like he had originally planned, but also it was brought to his attention that Corey has been running his mouth and it is a pretty big threat. And if Corey gets power next week, might come for Cameron. So I really thought for a while that he was going to take one of the noms down and put Corey up.
And that's interesting because during this HOH reign for Cameron, his entire strategy revolved around jury management. And
hmm
so he really is thinking two steps ahead here, and whose votes he could count on if he gets to the final.
hmm
So that is an interesting point, knowing that Corey is somebody that is actively targeting you and wants you out of the house, and you're trying to manage these jury votes. What why Mimi didn't seem like a threat to him in that way. A threat in other ways, sure, but she didn't strike me as somebody one way or another who was hell bent on keeping him or getting rid of him or voting for him if it comes down to it as a jury member. But Corey, you're right. His game was exposed in wanting to get Cameron out of the house. And where does that leave him as a jury member if it comes down to it? So Cameron had some options there at the
hmm
last minute, but you're right. He ended up keeping noms the same.
And I really don't think anyone was gunning for Mimi. I think it just came down to the fact that Cameron knew Felicia is not a Cameron fan. And so he was thinking, Felicia would not vote for me in the end if it came down to it. So I want to get her out now, which is fair. And Mimi is Felicia's closest ally. And so she kind of was just collateral damage in that nomination because he did not use the power veto. The noms stayed the same. And then the House decided to flip their vote.
Yes, they did.
So while everyone originally was just, sure, we'll vote out Felicia, they were thinking on it a little bit more. Oh, Mimi is actually a stronger competitor, poses more of a threat potentially. She almost won several competitions. So they decided to keep Felicia around and send Mimi home.
When it comes down to Cameron's logic of wanting to send Felicia out of the house because he doesn't think that he had her vote if it came down to it, I can understand that logic. But in terms of how the rest of the house voted and how the week ultimately played out, it makes perfect sense to get
hmm
Mimi out. We both loved Mimi. It sucks to see her go. I was
Yeah.
very interested to finally see her maybe gain a little bit of power in this house and see what she could do with it.
hmm
Unfortunately, her time was cut short, and her exit was explosive.
I loved it.
Yeah.
So she dodged Corey and America, which I love. I just love when people do that. They're not just hugging every single person. She was like, no thanks, which this is the second Corey dodge. Izzy also dodged Corey on the way out.
Yes, yes.
And then as she's walking out the door, she was like, I just want everyone to know that Corey, America, and Bowie have an alliance. And we couldn't see who she was pointing at. But she was like, and they're coming for you and you and you and you, and pointed out several people. And everyone was like, what?
It was so out of character for Mimi, and I had a couple of thoughts as she was doing that. One was, where was all of this fire throughout the entire game? Like, she saved it all when it ultimately didn't matter anymore and she was on her way out of the house, but perhaps she would have been able to establish more of a presence within some of these alliances and stayed longer had she played with a little bit more of that fire.
I agree.
It came out at the wrong time. And then my second observation during that was, where did Bowie's name come
I
from?
know.
Like, I haven't seen her really working with anybody, and now she's getting called out in front of the entire house.
I've never thought of the three of them as a trio, Bowie, Corey, and America, but I guess that's what Mimi thought. The three of them were working together to make moves to target certain people. But it was so funny. She threw shade on the way out. She was like, and you know that they can't win anything, so look out for them.
I honestly, that was so entertaining. I love a good exit of the house, and she delivered. I could watch that on repeat.
And we finally got my favorite thing, which we've been deprived of for several weeks, which is the reveal of the Cerie-Jared relationship. They've been telling to the pre-jury evicted house guests, oh, did you know that there are two people in the house that are related? Everyone's like, what? And like hearing their reactions I love it. It's the best thing ever. So we were deprived of that with Izzy because she already knew. And then Jared went home, which obviously he knew.
He knew.
So then to finally she gave a good reaction too. She had no idea.
No, who did she guess?
She
made
guessed
a guess.
Cameron in America.
Oh, yes. Way out there. At least she didn't say Felicia and Denzel Washington.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Rewind.
Callback.
Cameron had once thought that Felicia was related to Denzel Washington. Not the case that we know of. But yes, Mimi had a stellar reaction too to the news. Like, she was the most shocked out of any reveal we've seen so far that I can remember. So yeah, that was a good moment. And I'm guessing now that we are in jury, evicted house guests will not get told this information. Nope. So that was until finale night, our last chance to see a big reveal like that.
It was a good one. It was our last one.
Yes.
And I don't know if the secret will come into play really anymore at all because Jared's gone. But Blue does know the secret. So I do think that if it were to come up, that it could still hurt Cerie's game.
Right. If anything, it just shows that she's capable of deception and lying.
Exactly. People could use that against her very easily. Who knows if it'll come up? Her and Blue seem to be on fine terms, but everything changes in this house so quickly, so you never know.
It would be a smart card to keep in your back pocket to play whenever it's necessary. I could see scenarios in which she plays that, especially if she's on the block and fighting for her life. That is a very valuable piece of information that she can play at any time.
So now we see on the screens in the kitchen a Humilogram come up, a new social media app.
Yes.
And a bunch of social media posts of evicted house guests start popping up. And everyone knows what this means. It's a memory HOH competition. These look so hard to me. These look the hardest because there's so much to remember.
And then like 24 hours goes by before you have to apply that knowledge. These competitions truly are some of the hardest.
I feel like whenever I try to play along at home, I always pay attention to the wrong details. Either I'm looking at all the numbers and then Julie's asking about colors or order. Or I'm looking at the specific people, then she's like, how many likes were under this post? I always look at the wrong thing.
There was one question that she asked, I think it was Izzy and Red. Are their teeth clearly visible in the photo they're in together? And she emphasized clearly visible as in like, were there some where they were just a little visible? Like, how much do you really have to pay attention? You have to scan these things and memorize them to a T.
Do you think that people really knew or they were just guessing?
There had to have been a handful of guesses. Luckily, it's a 50-50 shot, so the odds aren't super bad. But there has to be a level of guessing there. And
has to be.
Maybe that's why we ended up with our ultimate winner. It came down to Felicia and Bowie Jane. Talk about two underdogs.
Yes, which
fighting it out at the end.
I loved this because I think everyone, including us, had been counting out Bowie Jane. She hasn't really done much in this game. She hasn't talked a lot of the game with people. She seems to kind of just go with the flow. And I loved that Felicia almost pulled it out too because everyone was just talking about how they should send Mimi home instead of Felicia because Felicia's not a big threat. And that would have just been incredible to see Felicia be seen as not a big threat and then to pull out an HOH win.
Right, which would have been her second which is two more than a handful of house guests in the
Two more
house
than
right now.
America can say.
Amen.
Yeah.
And so I was totally okay with whoever ended up winning
Mhm.
that competition. It could have gone either way, and I would have been a happy camper.
And so it came down to a tiebreaker, which was really funny to me. So they had to pull out their little whiteboards and they had to answer how many minutes Jared was in the house as a zombie. So from the moment he came back into the house to the moment he left again. So you can see Bowie Jane starts thinking, Felicia starts doing math. Bowie Jane writes down 27.
That is less than a half an hour.
I don't know. Maybe she thought it was hours. She wrote 27. I was like, is she serious? Is she going to leave it at 27? And then you could see Felicia's trying to calculate the math based on the days and everything. I don't know. I probably would have just guessed a number because I would know that there wasn't time to actually do the math. So Bowie writes down 27. Last minute changes it to 627, which still seems very low to me.
Very, very. I don't know off the top of my head how many minutes are in a day.
No.
But I feel like it's more than 627.
Yeah, I think
If you
so.
know, comment down below how many minutes are in a day.
So then I don't know what kind of math Felicia is doing, but she comes out with some number that's 400,000 something. And then Julie reveals that the answer is 10,000 minutes. Was that what it was?
It was in that ballpark.
Yes.
And they both were so far off. And I can't understand. I understand Felicia's strategy because she was trying to do math.
She was trying.
But Bowie just wrote 27 down, very seemingly confident at first. And then, you're right, she threw a 6 on there.
What
that
was the
sounded
6?
good.
Where'd she get that?
I don't know. If her strategy, which would make sense, was to just go low so she doesn't go over, but then go with a round number. 27 seems oddly specific.
Yeah, maybe do 1,000 or something if you weren't
or
sure.
0,
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a possible guess.
627, but you know what? It got her the win.
It got her first victory of the season. Bowie Jane has power.
Plot twist, a Bowie Jane win. Bowie Jane is in power.
What to expect from a Bowie Jane head of household?
I've kind of been obsessed with her. She's kind of just been on summer vacation this whole time.
That's a good way to put it.
And she seems so sweet. She seems like a great person to be around. But I am so curious. I have no idea what she's going to do. What do you think she's going to do with this power?
So honestly, just based off of what I've seen, maybe she's held her cards close to her chest all season, and she is at a point now where she can finally start playing. But if history is any indication, I feel like she's just going to be asking a lot of other people what she should do and just go with whatever the house tells her to do. I would love a Bowie Jane that comes in guns a-blazing and ready to pop off and make moves and blow everybody away. I just don't see that coming from her because we haven't seen it yet. Mimi surprised me though when she was on her way out, so there is a chance that she's got that fire inside of her.
Mm-hmm.
I have a gut feeling she's going to do whatever the house tells her to do.
Yeah, who knows? I think a few options are that she might still feel the betrayal from Suri and Felicia from several weeks ago when she didn't know how the vote was going and she thought she was aligned with them, so she might just come for them. Or she might also listen to the house who is saying Corey is the biggest threat. Even though it seems she's maybe aligned with Corey in America, or maybe they're using her. I don't really know. I honestly have no idea what she's going to do. Maybe she'll just do a wild card and come for Matt or something.
That's an interesting point, though. You're right. She was at one point burned by Suri and Felicia. And Suri, she's so good at this game. She knew that she was becoming a target and has just blended in like wallpaper, to put it in her words. And she hasn't. It's a name you haven't heard much since she decided to take that step. And so, does Bowie go after Felicia and Suri? That's not a bad move for her. That would also make sense. Anything else, especially now that we're in jury, you have to worry about what kind of blood you're getting on your hands. So that actually might be a good excuse to put two people on the block.
I honestly have no idea. I cannot wait to watch.
It would be beneficial for her, which would be a crazy weird alliance, to get with Cameron. Because right now, Cameron's on the outside of the fugitives. It's Matt and Jag. And they're just inviting Cameron in because they need the extra number.
Mhm.
And that's a little bit of protection because Cameron seems to win everything. If Bowie can lock in with Cameron, how genuine that would be, I don't know. But they both need a solid number one. And so they might not see it the way we do because we have the luxury of 90 cameras in the house and a 24/7 live stream, but that would make sense for her game. I don't see that happening, though. That would be wild.
Well, they were kind of aligned before when I don't know if they grouped themselves or other people grouped them together as, Red, Cameron, and Bowie. She somehow was put in that little group. And at one point, it seemed Cameron and Bowie were relying on each other because they only had each other. So maybe that will be like the unexpected power duo we didn't see coming.
I mean, there's been a lot of duos in this game. We shouldn't be surprised by anything at this point.
What will Bowie Jane do?
That's the question we have on our minds this week.
So I want to hear everybody else's thoughts. In the YouTube comments, we will hop in there and reply to people. I love hearing the banter in there, the back and forth. You can watch this on the 10 Tampa Bay YouTube channel or the 10 Tampa Bay Plus streaming app. And we'll be back next week to find out finally what our queen, Bowie Jane, does with this power.
We hope to see you back then.
Bye.